so crazy.
Isn't it?
It's so crazy, but I'm so happy and still having fun and challenged, and it still feels...
Mariska Hargitay, aka Detective Olivia, made this statement on The Ellen Show when asked about the drama series Law & Order, which at the time was continuing for more than 13 years. This particular series set the stage for success for Mariska, who won several awards as a result of this series. But not many people know this about Mariska, that she was surrounded by tragedies while growing up, from the early death of her mother to losing her father, and then being assaulted. There is a lot to cover. Listen up as we unpack the tragedy of Mariska Hargitay, which is beyond sad. 1. A difficult childhood. Childhood can teach a lot. Apart from the changing development of the brain and the changes in physical characteristics, so much goes on that it is often neglected. Interactions with an adult can impact a child positively or negatively. The so-called interactions and the conversations then shape the child's personality combined with other things, such as their reaction to what the adult is saying and how they perceive it. For a parent, it is one of the most beautiful things to see their child grow into an adult in front of their eyes. However, not all are fortunate enough to witness the same. Speaking from the perspective of the children, it is a blessing to have both of your parents who get to witness your growth and are a part of this process with you, which can be beautiful but complex at the same time. But life's random and some things are just beyond our control. Similar was the case with Mariska Hargitay, who lost her mother on June 29, 1967, while she was just 3.5 years old. Her mother, Jane Mansfield, was a renowned Hollywood actress in the 1950s and apparently the sex symbol of Hollywood at the time. The blonde bombshell used to be a dream of every man in the 1950s and 60s, and not without reason. That was because she was more than just an actress. With perfect blonde hair and a breathy voice, she had a stunning figure that drove men crazy. She had an IQ of 160, which underscores her mental abilities as well. Apart from her career in Hollywood, she could play the violin and piano. Her life came to an abrupt end on the night of June 29th, when she was traveling in a car to New Orleans, Louisiana, post her performance at a nightclub. Mariska and her two brothers, Zoltan and Miklos, were seated in the back, and their mother along with the 19-year-old driver Ronald B. Harrison. And her lawyer and then boyfriend Samuel S. Brody occupied the front seats. Their Buick Electra collided with the back of a tractor trailer, which slowed down due to a fog-spraying truck. While the front seat passengers were announced dead on the spot once the police and ambulance came, the kids survived the accident but sustained injuries of their own. That was a turning point in her life, as the kids were small at the time and had to deal with the fact that their mother was gone forever. The sad part is that rumors started spreading about the way that the actress died. In addition to several false claims, one of them was that her head was decapitated in the accident. However, the undertaker who prepared the body for burial does not agree with this statement. Posts that Mariska and her siblings were raised by their dad and Mayfield's ex-husband, a former bodybuilder and actor, Mickey Hargitay. The actress wasn't too open about her mother's death until a lot later. The acceptance as a child came to her own at its own pace, and it was something that she wasn't ready for. As a kid, she did not understand how to perceive the loss of one of the most prominent figures in her life. However, once she was comfortable with it herself, she has been verbal about it with the news and her interviews alike. She attributes much of the way she is has been a lot because of this tragedy that occurred while she was still young. She said, "The way I've lived with loss is to lean into it. As the saying goes, the only way out is through. In my life, certainly I've tried to avoid pain, loss, feeling things, but I've learned instead to really lean into it because sooner or later you have to pay the piper. I'm not saying it's easy, and it certainly hasn't been for me. There's been a lot of darkness. But on the other side, things can be so bright." Apart from sharing her feelings on how she dealt with it, she has shared her thoughts and feelings which she associates with her mother as an adult. She said, "My mother was this amazing, beautiful, glamorous sex symbol. But people didn't know that she played the violin and had a 160 IQ and had 5 kids and loved dogs." The actress teared up while making another statement where she said, "She was just so ahead of her time. She was an inspiration. She had this appetite for life. And I think I share that with her." The actress has further emphasized her disappointment with the fact that being the child of a Hollywood star has often felt like a burden. She was associated with her mother on numerous occasions where she wanted to be recognized for herself. She said, Losing my mother at such a young age is a scar on my soul, but I feel like it ultimately made me into the person I am today. I understand the journey of life. I had to go through what I did to be here. 2. Early career. Born and brought up in a Hollywood-oriented family, with her mother being a 1950s bombshell and her father being an actor and a bodybuilder. Her exposure to the entertainment industry was at an early age. We have spoken about the fact that she has been associated with her mother on numerous occasions where she wanted to be recognized for her work. She did this with the television series Law and Order, but what's so special about this series and how did the Hollywood journey begin? She began her career in the late 1980s through UCLA School of Theater, Film and Television. Her first notable role came in 1985 in the horror comedy film Ghoulies. From there on, she got several roles in television series, and not too many films, but it was steady and balanced, which was exactly what she needed at the time to create an impression and an identity for herself. Still waiting for her big break, she was seen in a couple of other projects including Falcon Crest, Tequila and Bonetti, and Seinfeld. The wait came to an end as she owned the year 1999 as Detective Olivia Benson in the series Law and Order. Special Victims Unit, her overall character, which was a mix of complex emotion and raw toughness combined with the gripping themes of the series that revolved around topics such as domestic violence, child abuse, and themes of sexual assault, captivated the audiences and generated a long-lasting interest. This was a time when everyone was hooked to their screens just to get a glimpse of Olivia the detective in action. This particular show opened countless doors for Mariska, each one being better rewarding than the last. Apart from establishing her identity in the industry, something that she had always wanted for herself, the audiences and critics alike went overboard for her skills as an actor. Additionally, she won several awards, all thanks to the series. She won the Emmy Award in 2006, becoming the first actress from any Law Order series to win a lead acting Emmy. Her role earned her several Golden Globe and Screen Actor Guild nominations as well. The best part in all this is that the series had gained such massive success that it went on to set a world record for any series in the US which has been aired on television for 25 years. It started on September 20th, 1999, and has continued in 2024 as well, with a whopping 25 seasons with over 540 episodes. Now, that's some binge-worthy content right there. Keeping the fame and glamour aside, the series had an impact on Mariska's personal life as well. While it was a rough start, it ended with something beautiful. Stick along with this video till the end, as we talk in detail about this occurrence. 3. Surrounded by tragedies. Tragedies have been a part and parcel of Mariska's life. Just when thought things were starting to settle down after her mother's death, then came the incident where her stepmother was involved in a violent plane turbulence. Ellen Ciano, Mickey Hargitay's third wife, became a more relevant figure in the life of Mickey and Mariska after the death of Mansfield. While she remained largely out of the public eye, one of her most notable incidents was brought to light when she was involved in a violent plane turbulence which almost cost her life. The commercial flight that she was traveling in encountered some technical difficulties mid-flight. The exact details of the flight, including the airlines, the nature of the problem, and the number of casualties involved have been out of the public's reach. However, one certain thing is the fact that the pilot had to make an emergency landing with no other choice being left. It was extremely violent, where the plane sustained significant damage and Ellen was severely injured. Her injuries took a long time to recover and came as another shock to Mariska. After the incident that happened with her mother, she thought as a child that anything could happen, and death was just a heartbeat away. Additionally, one of the hospital staff mentioned that Ellen was in bad shape when she was brought in. She fit the ceiling and the floor of the airplane about 56 times, which led to severe injuries. To experience those same feelings again was not pleasant for her, to say the least. Mariska later mentioned in one of her interviews, "I called her mom. We were blessed that she really embraced us and loved us so quickly. And I was very fortunate to have a maternal figure in my life after such a horrific incident." Additionally, Mariska said this in one of her interviews, "Those are tough emotions for kids to deal with. Almost had that happen twice. That's really scary for us." Apart from the incident being scary and a terrible one, another frightening aspect of it was losing her mother twice. But things don't here. Mickey Hargitay was an important figure in Mariska's life, to say the least. After Mansfield's death, he was the one who raised her and her siblings. Mariska said, "My dad taught me to listen and to learn. As a young kid, I had my antennas out for who had wisdom and why. And what was I supposed to learn from them? And why were they there? The way I've been able to make sense of the cards I was dealt was to follow those signs." Mickey devoted a majority of his life to bodybuilding, which earned him the prestigious title of Mr. Universe in 1955. Moving on to 1958, he made his debut in Hollywood as an actor and married Jane Mansfield in 1958, with whom he had 3 children. Their marriage came to an end in 1964, but even after taking that into account, he has been a loving father to his kids, and never the one to back down from supporting them in any way possible. It was on September 14th, 2006, at the age of 80, he passed away. He died from multiple myeloma, a type of cancer that affects the plasma cells in the bone marrow. His cancer was at an aggressive stage, and it ended his life quicker than his daughter could come to terms with it. The actress shared a few words describing how it felt when she lost her dad. She said, "It was huge to lose this person who was my everything, my strength, my power, the person who believed in me. But I got to say goodbye. And I remember it was very calm, and he just looked at me, and he said, 'Mariska, always.' I was the most like him. And the gift that I got, in addition to being able to say goodbye, was knowing that he was in me. I already carried his fire, the lessons that he taught me, his compassion, his love, his kindness. Now I do feel that he's with me. Even though he's not here physically, I carry him." As discussed earlier in this video, Mariska has been recognized the most for her work in the series Law and Order. SVUA have spoken of the massive success and love it received from its audience. However, there is an incident that occurred on set which made the actress's life flash in front of her eyes. It was in 2008 when she was working on the new season of her series Law and Order Special Victims Unit. While filming an action sequence where she was chasing a bad guy, she had a rather unpleasant landing on the crash pad as opposed to what was planned. She had some troubles then, and they're only with context to her breathing, but chose to ignore it at the time, considering it to be nothing major. However, from here things just got more serious for her. 3 months later, she encountered sharp chest pain and shortness of breath. Not giving it the attention it required, it stuck her again on New Year's Day, where she described the pain as someone stabbing her, and it brought her down to one knee where she just couldn't catch her breath. A forced visit to the doctor revealed that she had a 50% collapsed lung. This is a medical condition known as pneumothorax. It occurs when air leaks into the space between the lung and the chest wall, causing the lung to deflate partially or fully. It wasn't until 2009 that the actress had to go into surgery to correct the damage and avoid any serious consequences of the ailment. While the surgery was a success, she was struck with the same thing sometime later. The doctors considered it to be 1 in 5,000 statistical chance. Considering all that she had been through and the fact that she was in a stable position with her husband and kid, she considered herself lucky for what she survived. It was a scary experience for her, but her past and all that happened to her as a child taught her so much to deal with this kind of stuff. She recalls her grandfather who died of something similar. This was yet another point that redirected her towards gratitude and all that she was able to do and achieve in her life. The recovery took some time as she could not be present in a few episodes of the series, but she understood that giving herself that time and space to recover was necessary. Once she was completely okay, she was back on set in no time and completed the series. 4. Assaulted. Assaults and any acts committed along the same lines are some of the most heinous crimes that can be committed. The person who goes through it often ends up with trauma and doubting the fact if they should even share it with someone or not in the first place. While there have been strict measures and laws that govern such crimes, the people who commit such acts are still out there. It is often a tragedy for someone who ends up in this situation. While the way they choose to recover from the same matters equally, they can't just get over it. Invasion of personal space and exploiting someone physically without their consent is straight up disturbing. Many incidents come out in the light, but many stay hidden due to the stigmas attached and possible embarrassment. One such incident occurred with the Law and Order actress Mariska Hargitay. The actress did not utter a single word about it for a long time. But why did she keep it from the people who matter, and what made her come out clean in the open with all that happened? Talking of the incident, Mariska talked about it in detail in an interview on January 10th, 2024. She said, "It wasn't at all. It was dominance and control. Overpowering control. He was a friend. Then he wasn't. I tried all the ways I knew to get out of it. I tried to make jokes, to be charming, to set a boundary, to reason to say no. He grabbed me by the arms and held me down. I was terrified. I didn't want it to escalate to violence. I now know it was already sexual violence, but I was afraid that he would become physically violent. I went into freeze mode, a common trauma response when there is no option to escape. I checked out of my body. For a long time, the actress did not even wish to acknowledge what had happened to her. But eventually she had to. She recalls saying this to Peter, her husband. It wasn't rape. It wasn't until one of her best friends told her for good, "Mariska, name everything. Name it." It was then that she finally decided to open up and let everyone know what she went through. With the final decision to move on, it was not the only thing she did. What happens on from here is so inspirational that you might tear up, so get those tissues out. 5. Moving on. Mariska's role as an advocate for sexual assault survivors began largely due to her character as Olivia Benson on Law & Order, Special Victims Unit in the series. She played a detective who worked closely with victims of sexual violence. Being so close to the character she played and the incident that happened with her only made her acting more real. Her role as Besnan resonated with the audience and the viewers who were victims of such crime as well. While Mariska shared this severity with them, she was never as open about it until later. To her surprise, she started receiving multiple emails and letters from her fans where they told their experiences to Mariska. This was one of the major factors that motivated her to take action beyond the screen and do something about it. It was in 2004 that she came up with Joyful Heart Foundation, a non-profit organization aimed at empowering victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, and child abuse. The foundation aims at providing support, healing programs, and education to those individuals who were affected by this trauma. In one of her interviews, she said, "For a long time, I focused on creating a foundation to help survivors of abuse and sexual voyeurism. I was building Joyful Heart on the outside so I could do the work on the inside. I think I also needed to see what healing could look like. I look back on speeches where I said, 'I'm not a survivor.' I wasn't being untruthful. It wasn't how I thought of myself." One of the foundation's most prominent initiatives was to put an end to the backlog of untested rape kits across the United States. The kits contained crucial evidence from sexual assault survivors, yet a majority of those remained untested for a major period due to lack of proper resources and funding. Additionally, she used the platform openly to speak on the importance of healing and recovering from the trauma for survivors. She was rewarded accordingly for her work. She received the Women of Vision Award from Gloria Steinem and recognition of her foundation as a leading organization in the fight against sexual violence. Mariska said, "Survivors who've watched the show have told me I've helped them and given them strength, but there are the ones who've been a source of strength for me. They've experienced darkness and cruelty, an utter disregard for another human being, and they've done what they needed to survive. For some, that means making Olivia Benson a big part of their lives, which is an honor beyond measure. For others, it means building a foundation. We're strong, and we find a way through." I said for a long time that my hope was for people to be able to talk about sexual assault the same way they now talk about cancer. Tell someone you've survived cancer, and you're celebrated. I want the same response for sexual assault survivors. I want no shame with the victim. The shame of the act belongs with the perpetrator. They're the ones who committed the heinous, shameful act. The actress has gone on record to mention the fact that the overall experience of what she went through and how she came out of it was not easy at all. But the foundation and support from all the fans and her closest associates acted as a light in the dark times. At 60 years old, she stands filled with pride and compassion for the survivors and what she has been able to contribute to their journey. 6. Relationship. Yes, Mariska has been through a lot, but she is still grateful for how these experiences helped shape her reality and perspective into something so much better that not only she helped herself, but others as well. She had her close friends have been in this with her, but Peter Herman, an actor, and her husband are one of her top supporters. The duo first got acquainted with each other on the set of Law & Order, SVU in 2001, when Peter came as a guest appearance on the show. There was an immediate spark between the couple, and they began dating not too long after their first meeting. It became quite serious in no time. In 2004, Peter proposed to Mariska. to which she said yes. Mariska recalls a rather beautiful instance from their life when they went to church together. She said, "We went to church together, and it was like getting hit with a lightning bolt. I just started sobbing. Peter thought I was crying because I was moved by the service. No, it was because I was just overwhelmed, realizing he was the one." They tied the knot on August 28, 2004. And from there on, things have been beautiful for the couple. Yes, hardships have been there, but they both acted as a source of strength for each other, especially Peter, as Mariska was dealing with so much in terms of trauma. Mariska has often been verbal of Peter's strong and humorous characteristics, which have laid the foundation for a strong marriage. The couple have 3 kids together, out of which 2 are adopted. Their first child is August Miklos Friedrich Hermann, who is 17 years old. They welcomed August on June 28, 2006, and it was just a couple of months before when Mariska won her first Emmy Award. When Mariska went up the stage to receive the award, she gave a speech in which she said, "When I named my son August, I had no idea that the month would end like this." The couple was on cloud 9 with the birth of their first child. Mariska said in one of her interviews that no one wanted to pregnant more than her. She switched to maternity pants from the moment she found out. The excitement was just too much for her to contain. Additionally, she has mentioned the positive changes this childbirth has brought to her life, which includes being involved in work and family full-time, along with appreciating the little things in life even more. Mariska and Hermann are members of the Stuttering Association for the Young Hall of Fame, where massive donations have been made in the name of August Who Stutters. Mariska has been working hard, to say the least, in an attempt to instill the values that she carries in her child. That's parenting 101 for you. While adopting kids came at a later stage, one thing the couple was sure of before that was to expand their family. Mariska and August were the first to propose the idea of getting a sister and a brother, having a hunch that their prayers were answered. The couple welcomed Amaya Josephine Hermann in April 2011. Mariska expressed her happiness and gratitude for making Amaya a part of their family in an interview. She said, "I'm deliriously happy. From the minute she was born, she was just surprisingly alert and so full of love." Mariska even talks about the time when she wanted to name her Maya, but explains why they went with Amaya. She said, "I like that name, but I wanted her to have the same initials as August. I thought adding that it was so feminine. Amaya sounded so open and feminine and beautiful, just like her. She's not fussy, she doesn't cry much. She's just very peaceful." Little August, who was 7 at the time, was equally ecstatic about having a sister. More than that, he attributes it to himself, that it was because he said he wanted to have a sister, Amaya was brought in. Mariska shared instances of August as to how he speaks of being a great brother to her sister and how he wants to protect her. A couple of months later, in October 2011, the couple brought in yet another sibling for August and Amaya, who was Andrew Nicholas Hermann. While the point of expansion of family was still in mind, Mariska said, "We never in a million years thought it would happen this quickly. But something inside of us knew that this was right, and we said, yes, yes, yes. We knew this was our guy. It felt divinely right." While Mariska has not stepped back from letting everyone know how grateful she is for the family and kids, Peter followed soon. It was in 2018 that he wrote his first children's book. If the SS in Moose Comes Loose, he was inspired to write and, most importantly, finish the books because of his kids and the bond that they shared. Despite being a bit apprehensive about it at first, he read his kids the book he wrote, and it was loved by the 3 of them, especially Andrew. In January 2024, Mariska shared her insights on being an older parent in an interview. She said, "I don't know if I could have handled it when I was younger. When I was younger, I wasn't as present, but as I've gotten older, I've started to accept and appreciate. Now, is there a better family equation than this? We certainly don't think so." While we can say it all we want, Mariska is the best to describe what her family is like, and she thinks it's a whole, happy, joyful, chaotic, crazy unit, and we would most certainly like to agree with her on this one. That's all from our side. Are you a big fan of Mariska Hargitay's work? Which piece of information we spoke of in this video came as a shock to you? Keep the conversation alive in the comments section below. If you liked what you saw, do not forget to like and share this video with all your friends. For more such content, click that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so that you do not miss an update from our channel.